Hey, I'm Chris. I'm back with the First Draft podcast. Back with
Yay.
Fred and Blanca. We
Let's
are going
go.
to address a couple topics tonight. The first one, let's take it to the top of the ticket.
The AITA for Reddit. We're trying to keep it a little more lighthearted and be more involved with our audience. So let's what
Yeah.
what what
Let
what's
me.
what's the top post? Because I'm a huge
Okay.
Reddit fan. Like
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
I
Yeah.
feel
yes.
like Reddit is a
And you
part of
all
my.
don't even know what I'm about to read. So this
I
is
don't know.
Reddit's
Let's.
AITA, your MIDASS.
What you call me?
Okay. So here's the question we're gonna read and respond to. Am I the ASS for threatening to report my girlfriend's family's GoFundMe? So this is the background.
Yes.
My 25-year-old girlfriend's mother and sister made a GoFundMe to raise money for a funeral for their grandfather. They were really tight on money and he died suddenly. My girlfriend and I asked around to close family and friends, and the GoFundMe ended up raising about 2,500. My family personally gave me about 700, or gave about 700.
Mhm.
However, my girlfriend's uncle ended up paying for the entire funeral, so my girlfriend's mom and sister did not need to pay for it using the GoFundMe funds.
Okay.
So this happened. They have yet to return the money to the donors, and I assume they just pocketed it. They are going through rough times, but I told my girlfriend this doesn't mean they can just keep the money raised because it was raised specifically for the funeral, and that this is scamming our close friends and family. I told my girlfriend she needed to have a serious talk with them and get the money returned, or I was going to report them.
To GoFundMe.
She is now furious at me for threatening to report them and get them in trouble, but this directly impacts my family and friends as well. Am I the ass for wanting to report this to GoFundMe? Wow, that's deep.
That's a difficult topic.
I think that's difficult because they were not planning for the uncle
Uncle
to
to
come up
and
and
pay for
pay.
everything.
Yeah.
Look, if you have to look to an uncle to pay for your stuff, then that's a red flag. And if you want to
A red flag upon whom? The person that died?
that's a good point. Gosh.
That's a red flag on the person that died? Like, how
Wait
you
a
gonna red
minute.
flag a person that's no longer
Yeah.
here?
Wait a minute.
Like, they shipped out. Like, what does that mean?
We're
Yeah.
just assuming that oh no, the uncle paid for the whole thing. He paid
That's
for
what
the
he
whole
said,
thing.
yeah.
Mm.
But he said that's a red flag. Like, the person that passed away should have had their affairs in order. So why is the
Oh,
uncle paying in the
yeah.
first place?
That's a
And
good
I'm
point.
like,
Yeah.
are you gonna red flag a dead person?
Yeah, well, we can't red flag the dead.
No, we can't do
I
that.
mean, we
That
can
hurts.
Gosh.
in retrospect, but
We
don't
can.
matter. It don't matter.
Oh, what do you guys think?
Sheesh. I mean, that's gonna raise him like Lazarus and like make him come back and be accountable and put a.
Is
I
That was just
don't
a
know. I
joke.
think that's
That's a
a
bad joke,
that's
probably.
a can you return people's money on
You can,
GoFundMe?
you can, you can. I know for sure because anybody that's in the internet world or the YouTube world, I follow the After Prison show, Joe, and he created a couple of GoFundmes for people within his genre, and those people did not spend the funds appropriately, and he was honest about it and returned all the GoFundMe monies back to the donors. So you do have a channel if you feel like the receiver of those campaigns did not use the funds appropriately. If you're truly ethical and
And you do.
moral, you can return those funds.
Yep.
There's a
So
whole
me, if
process.
I'm collecting this money, I can say, okay, we didn't end up needing it. We are returning it. And
Yes.
GoFundMe won't charge a percentage to give it back to the people. That doesn't
Mm-mm.
matter anyway. I
Mm-mm.
think they should return the money.
Mm-mm.
I think they should return the
Yeah,
money.
yeah,
A
yeah. I I
hundred percent.
I 100% agree with you.
Now, if he paid for the expenses, but then there were also other
Other expenses?
expenses
That's what I was gonna bring up.
directly having to do with the funeral, um, like normal expenses of a funeral. He's like, I'll pay for the funerals, but they had the cross, they had the flowers, and it ended up
Sometimes,
being
sometimes it's
500. Then I
Yeah.
think that they could keep that. Anything else, I think that they should.
well, and then sometimes with the religious services, you have like food costs, like because you don't
Yeah.
want to like charge the mourners, that people that came to acknowledge the dead person
Oh,
for
yeah.
the food or
No.
like flowers or like
Those are
external.
expenses that are not part of the funeral, but that are still there.
They're
If
just
you,
a part of the death
yeah,
experience. That's
yeah.
all I'm saying.
And an easy way to do it, I think, is, have something for the people with food, with things like that, since you have this extra money. But if you're not going to do any of that, no, I don't think that you should keep the money.
I agree.
No.
Yeah, I mean, the only flag I could say is, what about life insurance? Like, did that not cover? I mean, I guess that's the only way you could truly flag the person that passed away. Like, did you not have life insurance, or did your kids not have life insurance? Did your spouse not
Yeah.
have life insurance? Did your
Yeah, and I
and
think
that
that's
becomes a
getting,
whole nother
too much
topic.
into the weeds. But
Yeah,
at the end of the day, yes,
yeah,
I think he is. I don't think he should report, because at the end of the day, if you feel like you have to report, dude, break up with your girlfriend and move on. Move on.
I agree
Your
with that.
family and your friends gave, take it as a loss, move on. The whole thing about reporting, for some reason, just feels a little, even though they would be
Self-righteous,
wrong, yes, it feels grimy.
self-morality,
It feels like, ugh, like go and get justice. Another, like,
What
go
about
just
the opposite of that? What about taking the loss and still being with your girlfriend and just being quiet? Is that the wrong move to do? And will that cause problems down the road? Like, just be quiet and
if
just for the sake of
he
the
feels that
relationship?
strongly to actually tell her, I'm going to report your family, he's not going to be able to stay with her unless they.
Okay,
So it
that's
right
good.
now he's trying
That's
to.
good.
He's almost trying to save the relationship by reporting the family, almost as if he's twisting an arm. Like, okay, he's basically thinking, I can't stay with you if you all don't get this money back. If you and your family don't. So I'm going to make sure it happens so that I don't have to think about it, and me and you can still have a chance together. Like, I think there are other things involved here also. He's 100% right. It's wrong if they kept the money. But at the end of the day, some things are just not like, let it go. You can't police everyone. If you think it's wrong, don't be with this woman. If you think she's a part of it and her family, don't be with her, break up and go. The whole I'm going to report you all thing is just, ugh. I don't like it because
it's a little tedious.
it's a little vigilante to me. It's not that you're not right. You're right. You're right about what they're, if they want to keep it.
It
right?
also seems like you're using this as a form of judgment against your girlfriend without actually judging like whatever deficiencies you all have in your relationship. Like, you're using this as a symbol of the deficiencies. Like, if she can't even keep it real about her family members dying, is she going to be able to ever
Almost
keep
like
it with
a test.
me?
Almost like a
Yeah,
test.
like, is she going to keep
I'm
it real with
testing
me?
her.
Like, you gonna lie about your family members dying? Like,
Yeah, but at the same time, you're not testing her because you're gonna make her pass the test by like threatening her. Like, test, if you're gonna test her, which I don't, then let her see what she's gonna do. If you're saying I'm gonna threaten your family, you're like basically twisting her arm and making her pass the test. Like,
that's
you're
crazy.
gonna pass it. I think I don't like it. They shouldn't keep the money 100%. But if they don't and he's not comfortable with it, which it's not right if they did,
I agree.
then he should just, at the end of the day, this is not his girlfriend who's collecting this money. This is his girlfriend's family.
Yes.
This is his girlfriend's family, and now he's being controlling of what they're doing. It's wrong if they keep it. It doesn't matter. You can't go and control a whole family like by threatening them.
And then even if he told his girlfriend that her family was in the wrong, is it up to her to tell her family that she's in the wrong?
That they're in the wrong?
Should you measure your relationship with her because maybe she didn't speak up to her family to be their moral compass? Like, is it her duty to be the moral compass to the entire family, or should
Exactly. I mean, it should be enough for him. To me, in my opinion, it should be
a
enough
good
for her to
topic.
be like, okay, I'll talk to my family about
This is
it.
a good topic, guys.
And she does talk to her family, but at the end of the day, they're adults. You can't make adults do anything. So if they decide to keep that money, they're going to keep it. Why is it on you to go and report? Like, now you're doing too much, guy. I think he would be doing yes, you are the ass if you did report.
And I'm gonna go into
Because
another.
sometimes even when you're right, you can be wrong. In some kind of way, you can still be wrong.
I'm
in a
gonna
way.
go into another YouTube subgenre. I don't know. I think you've brought him up. I don't know if you guys watch like Soft White Underbelly with Mark
We talked
Layata.
about that.
Well, he interviewed a family in the Appalachian Mountains, and he started a huge GoFundMe for them to get like a house and like repair their situation. And one of the family members, not one of the main family members that he interviewed, a lady called him and said that a particular family member died and was like, send me money, send me money. And so his funeral's tomorrow. So he actually took his own money, flew out there to go to the funeral, and got there. And the person that supposedly died was sitting on the porch. And like he had to like call out the family member that said, hey, Mark, I need money. And he was like, where's Larry? Larry's sitting on the porch. Why did I collect all this money in a GoFundMe to give to you all? And it was like, at what point?
That right there, though, is different because that's a public GoFundMe, and he's using his people and like promoting it. That if he doesn't,
it's still exploiting a death to start a GoFundMe.
No, I know. At that point, though, those
crazy.
people would have to be called out, though, because otherwise, if he knows this and he's not like doing something about it, then he's gonna lose credibility with his fans who gave the money. Facts. But yeah, we did talk about that.
I just was trying to bring up a similar situation.
That
not,
is very
not exact.
no, but that's similar.
Yeah.
In that situation, I do think you would. In the boyfriend situation, I think that he needs to make a decision if he.
I agree with you.
If he wants to stay with his.
All right, guys. So we are back with the First Draft podcast. Fred, Blanca, Cris. Tonight we're going to be discussing social justice and its connection with secular religions. I understand why it wouldn't be a very connected topic, but we're going to make that connection tonight. I propose that it's faith-based beliefs are actually the underpinning of both of these ideologies, and we're going to explore that a little bit.
How do you define a secular religion? Isn't that an oxymoron? Secular and religion, or isn't that a paradox? Is a better, I guess, better premise.
So the way I define them is as any kind of belief system that is immune to data. So if you if you were to present some kind of data to somebody that says like, hey, the carpet is a particular kind of material form, and you should believe that, and you would say, oh well, I don't know, I don't think it is, and I could demonstrate to you that, well, actually, look, the carpet is something that you can touch and something you can pluck out of the fabric. Something tangible. It's a very, very simple understanding of it. I mean, obviously, you can extrapolate this into more metaphysical kind of understandings, but something like that, I think that we could. It's better understood as a faith-based belief or as a synonymous term, which I would call a secular religion. So, I'll kick that over on to you guys and see what you all like to talk about that.
What do you think about that terminology?
No, I like the terminology secular religions because I'm thinking about what Cris and I were talking off camera as far as, for example, veganism.
Oh, that's a good one.
You said antinatalism.
That's a good topic. I kind of want to hold back. That's one of my topics that I want to get into.
And I have not even been exposed to that term until here recently with you all. Really? But really.
There's also natalism too.
Natalism. Yeah. So anything like that is, I guess what I'm understanding is anything devoid of a deity would be a secular religion. Is that what you're saying? Like a secular religion has to be of this world, of the natural world, something that goes, something that is almost like a fanaticism.
Not
But
necessarily.
isn't there fanaticism in religion too, though? Like,
No, there is, and
Yeah.
but that's not good.
oh,
Yeah.
It's not good.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, isn't there a form of fanaticism within the
Yes,
realm
but
of religion?
yes, but specifically fanaticism and something that's devoid of a god.
Would you
Is
define?
that what a secular religion is? It has to be devoid of a
so
god.
so let me
No.
ask you all something that's
Go ahead.
very. I mean, this is well, it's your turn. Ted Krasinski with his writings
Mhm.
and the Unabomber.
Unabomber,
Would you
yeah.
consider that a secular religion, like what he believed in?
I don't know what he believed in.
Yes.
What did he believe in?
Can we look it up?
Yeah,
Like,
we can look
we
it
should
up.
look it up, right? Is there any way we can look it up?
Yeah, Calvin could probably look it up for us.
Because I feel like his manifesto was definitely religious. I would consider that
look up summary of Ted
I would actually
Krasinski.
agree with that, yeah.
I would actually
Summary of
I
Ted
think that
Krasinski
what he believed
manifesto.
in was a secular religion in a
Yep.
way.
I agree.
And you know what's crazy is I find truth in his belief.
Mhm.
Yep.
I even have a social
Interesting.
media alias. It's Fred Kaczynski
Is
instead
it
of Ted.
Kaczynski or Krasinski? Because it doesn't matter.
It's Kaczynski.
Kaczynski? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have it, Calvin?
Yeah.
Let him. Okay.
The manifesto contends that the Industrial Revolution began a harmful process of natural destruction brought about by technology, while forcing humans to adapt to machinery, creating a socio-political order that suppresses human and freedom and potential.
Dude, that's. And
Okay.
is it Kaczynski or Krasinski?
Kaczynski.
Kaczynski. Yeah, it's
Okay.
not.
So he was
it's not
basically
Krasinski.
against Industrial Revolution and the
He was against
machine.
yes.
But the
machines.
industrial, but by
Yeah,
the
he
time
was
he
against-
occurred,
he
the
didn't
industrial revolution, the industrial revolution had already occurred. Right?
Yes.
He was seeing beyond. The industrial revolution was just like trains and like the cotton gin, forgive me, and like
Of course,
the
but she's talking about
automobile.
the modern industrial revolution, which is the overtaking of technology over our lives, which is modern technology.
I agree with you.
Which is bound upon modern physics and
But what was crazy in
computer,
Kaczynski's
basically.
time, that actually had not manifested itself in practicality yet, but he was kind of
not to the magnitude that it has manifested itself to now.
yeah, the internet
Correct.
wasn't even in existence at the time that he wrote this manifesto, which is
early 90s.
Some people would say he's a prophet, not a religious prophet, but maybe. I don't know.
But his mind was taken over by it, though.
I mean, prophets
Is
are
it
just
fanaticism?
prophets are just subjects who are capable of prognostication, who are able to predictors. I mean, that's what stock traders, they're prognosticators or predictors as well. So yeah, it's which is actually kind of funny because he was also a mathematician.
Yeah, and I get Kaczynski and Krasinski mixed up because I think John Krasinski is a famous actor that plays in like A Quiet Place or something. He's got a, I don't know. I'm just being pop culture here. Pretty Wife, Emily Blunt, and all that.
Oh, that's my girl, Emily Blunt.
Yeah, she's fun. Yeah, she's a really great actress.
She really is. I love Emily Blunt.
So yeah, that's pretty much. There's much more to speak about on the secular religions because it is a topic that does not get enough attention in the modern era. When you actually understand a lot of the modern faddish kind of beliefs, when you understand them through a lens of religion, they actually make a lot more sense, and that is not something that is we're not educated on that or anything like that. But
What do you mean? Because I feel like everything is secular religions. If we're, I've not heard of the term, but I really like it. You've basically given a name to most of what is going on in society. So maybe it's not talked
Right.
about in the sense of, oh, this is secular religion, but mostly everything that's going on now, I feel like, is secular religion. Everyone has a
of course,
everyone has a
agenda or
stance, like a strong stance
a
on
fortress?
something. No, well, could be, but like a strong idea. You know, like when I said veganism, anything can become a secular religion if it takes over your mind, I guess.
the thing that differentiates a secular religion from a traditional religion, I would
Right.
say, is something, or a real religion or a true religion is something that, if it's irrational, if it's something that is not, because a lot of religions are actually rational. Like you can actually, the theologians within that particular religion, they will actually tell you like, hey, this is why we believe these things, and it's based on very, it goes
Well,
from
when you say
fundamentals all the way
based,
to advanced stuff.
I don't want to
The
interrupt you.
secular stuff is not like that. It is very just, you can ask these people why they believe this stuff, and they would say, oh, well, because that's how the world should be. And that's not how,
Should be?
correct. And that's not how traditional religions have ever resolved any of their conclusions about the
No,
world.
it's
It's always been, hey, this is what we've derived from our understanding of the world.
correct.
Give
And
me
me,
an
as someone who's been
example.
formally trained in science, that's how we did our stuff too. Like when I went to
Can I interdict?
university,
Can I interdict
they,
a little bit?
one
Just
second. When I went to university, that is how we interpreted the world. We did experiments. It was very empiricist, which is fine. We did experiments and we derived conclusions about the
Right.
world based on experiments.
Nice.
And then we just, hey, well, now that we've done the experiment, we've concluded that light travels at 386 meters per second, and we've concluded that we did an experiment in the microwave with chocolate bars. Fun experiment, by the way. So yeah, you can actually. It's very robust. The canon of modern science and even classical science, which originated in the 1500s, it's more robust than any of the modern religions and the modern secular beliefs that are, you know, they kind of infest the minds of the modern person. So, yeah, continue, Fred.
Oh, I wasn't. I can't continue on what you were talking about. I just wanted to like ask you,
What
how
is
do you
that? Oh,
define,
sorry.
huh?
Sorry, go ahead.
I don't know. I'm lost.
I was gonna say,
I'm lost,
I was
bro.
gonna ask,
What happened?
what is a secular religion?
Yeah, like
Give
you
me an
never
example.
defined it, bro. Like, what are you
Give
talking
me an
about?
example. What
Like,
is
you
a
just
secular?
just
I mean,
really
I like
valid.
the term,
Sure.
but
So any kind of belief system that is that is not based on
Empirical data or rational
what? Like
data?
what? Give me one.
on both.
Give me a belief system.
Well, that's why I tried to interdict
disrespect.
you and interrupt you so we could kind of classify. Because the way you
Sure.
actually interpolate data is like you classify, like it's taxonomy in a way. It's like,
Right.
how do we classify something? Kind of like when we talked about in our previous episode, like how do we verify what is and what is truth, and like what knowledge and maybe pre-knowledge is how do we define what is? And I know that's a double, but it's kind of like the underpinnings of philosophy, like verification, authorization. And I tend to think that what you were getting at, which is what I wanted to interdict you, I think religions, in specificity to Christianity, the church defines it by what sources they use. And that goes back into history. Like you can record Thomas Aquinas, or you can record John Calvin, or you can record Martin Luther. Like, like we have to start understanding the sources. I don't know, maybe that's too detailed in regards to Christianity, because I don't think
an
that
example of a secular religion.
social justice, right?
Correct.
Okay, but what's great? What's
Social
another
justice, right?
example?
Environmentalism.
Okay,
That's
environmentalism.
another a
Veganism.
great example.
We said veganism.
Veganism.
And honestly, I hate to say this.
I would go even further and say politics.
Yeah.
I
Certain
would say
politics.
I would say
Yes.
politics
Yeah.
is a secular religion because
Yes.
it
For
defies
sure.
it defies
Yep.
it goes beyond the
Yeah.
factual reference that you can use to determine how you're going to influence the whole of society. There comes a point.
It ignores
Objective
facts.
biases. Yeah, facts.
It ignores facts.
Yeah.
It does. It's all about rhetoric and persuasion,
Yeah.
and that's.
I
when
would
it
even
comes to
say
secular
to
religion,
keep it even lighter. I would say sports could be. I don't think it is, but
I do.
correct. Yeah.
You
It
just
can
don't
be
want to say it is
classified.
because you don't want to be in that category.
But we can talk about it.
But we already have to adjust our whole podcast
Yeah.
schedule because of
That can demonize
because of
me, you know.
Fred's secular religion of football, American football.
I would say it was more fanaticism.
Another day. No, but secular religions are basically like anything, like what I told Fred the other day is anything that is any kind of belief system that is outside of empirical data or rational kind of reasoning. So
yeah, and what was weird is how we started that conversation. I was telling you, we had the conversation about the La Familia and the I can't remember.
What about the La Familia?
And the DeVille team? I think they're called DeVille. And I was telling him how, like, as much as I'm invested in sports and like I feel criticized for my investment in time, and I was like, dude, on that I
do criticize you on that.
I know,
I'll
exactly.
I do criticize.
But I was
okay.
like, but like
It's
the way,
okay.
but the genesis of the conversation, I was like, hey, I want to give you an example to tell you, like, as much as you think that I really invest time in it, I was like, there's a big thing that's going on today. I mean, people invited me to it, and I was like, I don't really have time for this. Like, it doesn't really. I mean, it matters to me, but it doesn't matter.
What are we talking about?
We're talking about the local game between the. So there's these semi-pro teams for Louisville and Kentucky, La Familia, and I think it's called
Football.
DeVille basketball.
Oh, basketball.
It's like alums or
okay.
ex All-Stars, shall we say?
Oh, that's going on at Freedom Hall or something, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about it?
Well, I told him, like, as much as you think, because, and let me preface this by saying this is how I don't think that sports is a secular religion, because secular religion to me means like you abide by every rule, and like everything that encounters you within that you have to invest yourself into. And we started our conversation. I was like, yeah, that game went on today, and like some people invited me to that today, and I was like, honestly, I mean, I care about the result of it, but I don't really care to like spend time or money or reason. It's literally it literally was insignificant.
What if it was football?
Still, yeah, I wouldn't go. And
that doesn't mean it couldn't be a secular religion.
I didn't say it was,
Sports
but I'm just saying that like I can assign a value to me where it doesn't really mean that much to me. Like, when I say mean that much to me, like the result means much to me, but it doesn't mean enough for me to like spend time and spend money.
Of course.
Yeah. Active participation. Like, I participated on social media. Like, I think that's the thing about tech that allows us to be free in that I can just look at the result and be like, oh, La Familia won.
Yeah.
So you are also saying that secular religions is synonymous to faith-based beliefs, because faith-based beliefs to me has nothing to do with secular religions.
Yes, and let me real quickly explain what I mean. When I mean faith-based beliefs, any belief system that is outside of a rational system. So anything that is outside of a traditional understanding of, like I'm a citizen scientist, so I conduct investigations about the natural world, and I derive conclusions from that.
Hmm.
And that's how I form. And then I form my opinions from that.
Your hypothesis, if you're a scientist, right?
The hypothesis comes first, but yeah, I guess yeah, you can form a hypothesis before, and then
Is it a hypothesis, a test,
verify
and
it.
a theory?
Right. So that would be the scientific method, right?
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Which is it's modern, but it's a really good way to determine how the natural world works. The natural world, not the supernatural world or the metaphysical world. Anyone who believes things that are outside of that system, that's okay. And I actually think that is more robust than the scientific method, because this world is semiotic, it's symbolic of a metaphysical world that actually is occurring. But that's maybe, shall we say, supernatural. But people who use that methodology don't acknowledge that. So it's problematic, because when they present their analysis, they present it as scientific, or as a species of natural philosophy, which is physics, chemistry, biology, all of the natural sciences,
Hmm.
when they're actually performing either alchemy or religion.
I didn't
But
think alchemy
won't
was
tell
an
you that.
original science. I thought that was more
No,
metaphysical.
no,
No,
he's
no, I'm
saying
saying
they
it's not a
present it
science.
as science when it's actually alchemy, or
Oh,
They're
okay,
doing
that makes
alchemy.
sense.
They're doing changing lead into gold, which is comes in many
Crypto,
different,
like Bitcoin into Ethereum
pretty much.
exchanges.
Exactly. Exchanges. That's actually a really good way to put it. So
Exchanges.
that is actually I'm not going to go into the danger of that. I don't think we have time to do that tonight, but it goes to show you that that's actually what is going on with a lot of these new age belief systems. They are faith based. That's why I consider them secular religions. They are not.
what do
They
you
are
mean
not
by faith-based, though?
because they are not
Christianity is faith-based
correct.
religion,
Correct.
but you're calling a secular religion faith-based religion also.
Yeah, like social justice. It's a faith based religion.
How is that faith-based?
Because all of the claims they make are not based on data. They're not based on something that can be empirically measured or even rationally concluded. They are all.
So you think that faith is the opposite of rationalism?
No, faith. I'm talking about a very technical definition. A faith means that something you believe in, irrespective of if it's rational or if it's not rational.
Right. So you're saying faith is the opposite of rationalism?
Yeah. Even though in certain faiths, in Christianity, they are synonymous because they coincide. They are.
I would go even deeper. I think
they
in most faiths they coincide. Like it's kind of like what I
yeah.
prefaced in one of my previous statements in our previous segment that we were talking about. There is a point where the natural observable law meets your faith, and then that's where you have to start making a decision. And maybe that's not necessarily a particular vein of a religious sect, but like the science and the religion starts to coincide. I'm not going as far as you. I think.
Do you mean the science starts to confirm the faith?
And then vice versa, the religion starts to confirm the science too. Like they reinforce each other.
Actually,
They reinforce each other, which confirms your faith,
Mm-hmm.
or confirms your science, or
Mhm.
confirms both,
Mhm.
which is even crazier to think about.
I just think you're
I don't know about
the
that.
word faith, and it's like I can't. That's the part I can't get on
I
board
actually
with,
agree with you on that.
because faith
I
is
actually agree with her. I
faith
actually
is
agree with
like
her
a
on that.
certain thing, right?
Mhm.
Faith is what is the actual definition
Can we
of faith?
can we look that up,
Calvin,
Calvin?
can you read that out
Can we
to
get
us?
the iPad and like look that up? Actually,
Definition
completely. It's
of
kind of
faith.
like how we talked about the difference between religion and like. This is why I cannot define social justice as a religion, because I don't think there is a component of faith in it. I don't think there is a
No, but
component.
religion doesn't have to have a component of faith.
But
It just has to have a component of deity.
Well, it's both though, right? Like I I think my subjective
think
opinion. I
so.
think you have to have a faith within the deity too, though. Like
I don't
like
even think faith is involved.
okay.
Well, what's the definition of faith? I would say it's confidence.
The Merriam-Webster says belief and trust in and loyalty to God. And number 2 is belief in the traditional doctrines of a religion, or firm belief in something
Wow.
for which there is no proof.
That's
Now go to what is belief in
Let's
something
go.
for
the
no,
third
but we
definition.
asked
Yes.
but we talked
That was
about that.
really
We
deep.
talked about that last week when I said nothing is proof. Like there's no proof in this world. There's evidence, and that's when you call me a postmodernist.
Correct.
Could be.
Yeah. So
And-
faith,
and-
but faith. What is look up the biblical definition of faith, which supports
So
the
this is- so this is-
lack of proof.
So this
What
is,
is the biblical definition of faith, Calvin?
he already
No, the biblical.
okay.
All right. Hebrews 11:1 says, "Now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen."
I agree
Yeah,
with that.
it's the
Actually,
lack
pretty good
of the
definition, yeah.
proof.
Yeah, I like that.
It's
I
the
think
lack- yeah.
So this
The
is where I
conviction
get
of
weird
things.
about it, because when I talked about deity, I had to do some research from last week.
Mhm.
And so I said deity, right? But I did more research because I looked up. Kelvin, can you look up the term deity for me? And this is what I found. It's a belief in a supernatural being. And I don't think that I conveyed that in my term of a deity. When you all were talking about social justice being a religion in itself, I can't find a human being on this earth, even as much as like I love sports, right?
Mhm.
I think, and we can get into that conversation. I think this is one of the reasons why I like sports. And you were talking to me about how do we find this conduit between human beings and the divine. And this may seem very petty to you all, but I've explained this to him. Is like, I think that's something, you know how we talk about DEI and everything being equitable. I think there are certain human beings that are put here that are just physically different. They're just born different. Like there's no even playing field on it. Like you're born certain ways. And I think that is I think that's a witness of the divine, because we can't control that. Like you told me about me not being enough. Like there's something that like you can't be enough. Like some dude can run a 4.4, like drinking 5 beers the night before, and me training for 7 months.
Yes,
I will never be able to run that.
Because there are certain things that are given
supernatural.
as gifts. They're given as gifts, and you're born with them. Now, what's the definition of deity? Since you asked about it.
All right, I'll give you a few.
The top one.
All right, so this one says, a deity or god is a supernatural being considered to be sacred and worthy of worship due to having authority over the universe, nature, or human life.
A god.
Supernatural.
The Oxford Dictionary of English defines deity as a god or goddess, anything revered as divine.
So let me reinstill and let me reinforce my argument. When you all talk about social justice and people defining themselves as a deity, I don't think any of those people will ever be considered supernatural.
Well, they're
so
not. That's
so,
why
so that's a problem.
It's a false religion, though.
That means it's not a religion.
But
that means it's not a religion.
But in their minds, it is according to. However,
but objectively, that means it's not a religion. None of those people could ever be supernatural.
It doesn't matter, and they act as if it's a religion.
So they act as if they're supernatural?
No, that's a great question.
That's a fortress.
They don't act as if
that's a fortress.
They don't act as if they're supernatural, Fred.
But that's the only way you can define a religion, is if you have a deity, and a deity needs to be supernatural.
In their minds, they are the center of the universe, and what they think is important is the center of the universe.
I don't disagree with that statement, but that does not define a supernatural. A deity means something that is supernatural.
It doesn't have to be real in their minds. It's false. It's fake. It's a false religion.
I don't disagree with that.
I'm not saying it's a real religion. I'm saying it's a false religion.
So that means that it can't be a religion.
But it doesn't
If it's a
matter because they're
false-
operating in the sense of a religion.
Frederick, allow me to interject here because I think this will be a great segue into the next episode. This is what I mean by secular religions or faith-based beliefs. So anything that basically what they've just iterated, people who are not
Give me a
probably disturbed.
supernatural deity for a sacred religion.
I don't even have to give you that. It's just an understanding of the world that is irrespective of anything that can be measured either, well, obviously empirically, or anything that can be predicted rationally. So that is what the rationalistic side of philosophy. That is why it's so valuable. That is what's used in the stock markets. That's what's used in psychology. That's what's used in
Facts. Facts. I agree with both of you.
Hypnotism. That's what's used in a lot of different epistemology, shall we say. And anything that is not used in that is better understood as a faith-based belief, which colloquially is better phrased as a religion. Obviously, these people don't worship deities.
So when you say better, but the only way you can define a religion is through its deity.
Correct, but it's just a better understanding. Just like there's a lot of religions.
So it's a better. So you're saying it's a better way. You said phraseology, a better way to say it.
Correct.
A better way to say it, but that's not necessarily definitive of the term religion.
Correct. Yes, I don't mean that they.
So you
they
agree
go
with
and
me then. It's not definitive of
they
the
don't
term
go
religion.
and worship on Sundays.
So
or anything.
do secular religions actually exist?
Correct, but I they do. But I just perhaps
what do you think? Do secular religions actually exist?
1,000%.
Well, Fred,
And they're I guess I'm sorry. Go ahead.
present a different word for us to use them, because that's the best word I could use to describe these kind of ideologies.
Obsession and ideology.
I think they're best evaluated under the framework of religion. Do you think there's
a school of thought?
A school of thought, an ideology, belief
thought.
system, a faith-based belief system. These are all synonymous.
I would continue to call it a religion because it is
religion's the easiest way to understand them.
Because it's fortress.
It is fortress
completely.
It is
I don't
fortress.
disagree with that. I don't disagree
it
with
completely goes against. Now, as a Christian, right? I will say this:
That's
it
no problem with that.
completely comes up against what the Word of God says, but it doesn't seem that way. It makes it seem as if it's in line with it.
No, I'm not against that.
No, listen.
I'm not against that.
I'm not saying you're against it. Listen to what I'm saying. I'm giving you the answer right now why it's a false religion. Because it's a sheep. It's a wolf in sheep's clothing.
So if it's a false religion, then it means that it's not a religion. Isn't that how logic works?
But it doesn't matter because
if it's a false religion, then it's not a religion.
Fred, obviously, it's not even a religion. But what I am saying is a false religion, nonetheless, it's taking over someone's mind to the point that it's fortressing all of their thoughts where they can't see beyond it. And the thing is that it gaslights not just the people around them, it gaslights the person that is believing it. So the person themselves they're gaslighting themselves to where they're saying, for example, the social justice. They're like, well, I don't need God to be moral. The God of Christianity lets bad things happen. If I see something, I don't let bad things happen. I fight for justice. I do this, I do that. So it doesn't just come up against religion, right? It makes it seem as if, or against Christianity, for example, it makes it seem as if it's in line with everything Christianity is about without the need for God, without the need for the God of Christianity. Does that make sense? I can do everything that you as Christians can do, but I don't need your God to do it. It's a false religion in the sense that it does take over the mind. Okay, I am speaking about it in the sense, from a Christian.
I guess I don't want to disagree with you. From a Christian
point of view, you can't disagree with me. And I want to be open to say that I'm speaking about it from a Christian worldview.
I
right?
think we're
From a
getting too deep
Christian
in the weeds
worldview.
because I think the simplistic definition of social justice is just to find. I mean, conservatives are gonna roast me over this because I don't want to use this
Okay, we
word.
use the word cult.
No, I was gonna use the word equity.
Last time
I was
we use the word cult as in, okay, social justice is a false religion in the same sense that it's a cult mentality. It's cultish. It's
But that's
cultish.
just politics. Does that make it
No,
because you're Republican or
veganism,
Democrat?
veganism is not plant based. Veganism is a whole. It's a lot more than just
It's deeper
plant
than
based or
It's a lifestyle.
Be a vegetarian.
veganism is it's not just a lifestyle, it's a whole framing of your mind.
Isn't
If you
OMAD
speak,
isn't OMAD a lifestyle?
no, it's
Why
not.
not?
It's more than a lifestyle. Have you talked to a vegan?
Have you talked to a NOI
They're
member?
weird. Vegans are weird.
Have
I'm
you
sorry,
talked
I
to-
know this is controversial, but vegans
Have you talked to
are weird.
Have you talked to an NOI member that follows the
What
Elijah
is
Muhammad
that?
book?
What is that?
Nation of Islam member that follows the Elijah Muhammad book, How to Eat to Live. Have you ever talked to that?
No,
member?
I haven't. I haven't. I haven't even talked
I've
to
read the book too.
Yeah, and what about it? But what about it?
I don't necessarily even agree with the theology, but even though I think that book is a lifestyle, I don't think it's a religion, even though it's a sector or a segment of a religion. I think it's just good objective.
Veganism to me that's an example. It's an example
It's
of
just a
a
philosophy
a false religion because it's
I
not
agree.
just a philosophy.
I agree with you.
It takes over your mind progressively over time. Does that make sense? A philosophy is something that you can. Okay, if I'm
But
not
doesn't
even gonna.
anything we adhere to do that? If you decide to assign your lifestyle to that,
Doesn't anything that we
adhere
exactly.
to.
So that's
Like if
what
I
I'm
decide
saying.
to go
Why
jog at
am
the
I-
track 3 times a week, is that my religion?
No.
Or is that just something I do? You know,
It's just something you do.
Exactly.
Veganism.
That's my only argument.
Exactly.
It's just something
Veganism
I
doesn't
do.
leave you there. Veganism takes over your mind. Am I making sense here?
You are.
Veganism is not like working out every day. Yeah, that can become obsessive too. But
is that a
veganism, for
religion?
example,
Veganism has a moral component to it, which is that you should not eat animals, and because animals have a certain value to them that is similar to humans. So that is what veganism actually entails in the
veganism
philosophical
starts
tradition.
it has its own moral laws.
Yeah, that is what veganism is about. I mean, here in this
That's
state,
a good argument.
Here in this state, we don't really practice it very much. It's more on the coasts, whatever.
You mean here in our state?
Yes, we don't. You
maybe
encounter a vegan here too, but
vegetarianism.
Maybe more vegetarianism.
It's a better option.
Yeah. Well, I'm not.
So
I don't think vegetarian is flexitarian.
Yeah, you ever heard of
like
that? Yeah, I'm a flexitarian.
I don't think vegetarianism is a religion. No.
Yeah, I don't think flexitarianism is a religion.
It's not, or pescatarian. Veganism
Pescatarian
is a religion. It's a false religion.
I just feel like that's a
we
little
can keep
far.
talking about this.
That's actually, yes, I understand.
I think it's just a little far of a reach because if somebody decides to adhere to that, I just think it's a lifestyle. I don't think it's a religion.
I think it's because you don't realize how indoctrinated these people become.
But politics become very indoctrinated, and most people won't classify those parties as religions.
That's also a non sequitur.
They actually, you being a vegan doesn't affect the whole of society. If you decide to be a vegan and decide to become obsessive, it doesn't harm your neighbor. Like if I become
Christianity harms my neighbor?
I didn't say that. That's not what I said.
But
we're talking about secular
Blanca.
religion. So let me think about it. So let me talk.
He said pause.
Pause. I like that. My point is that if I'm not a vegan, but if somebody decides to become a vegan outside of their activism, which I've never seen vegans march down the road unless they're under a bunch of different other umbrellas. But if I decide to become strictly a vegan on my own for my health, it doesn't impact my neighbor negatively. Like if I decide to become a vegan, It doesn't impact you negative.
Vegans are the most judgmental.
I get that, but I'm saying it doesn't impact you. I'm talking about from the raw source. It doesn't, like, if I decide to become a vegan and just train on my own and take care of my family and do what I like. I know, like, I met a guy that was a vegan that became a vegan because he had cancer and he couldn't find a cure for his cancer, even through chemo. And he became a vegan, and he
became a vegan or a vegetarian?
He became a vegan. A strict vegan, not a vegetarian. He became a vegan, and he actually reduced his cancer, and like he lives that way now. And like, and this is purely anecdotal. It's there's no scientific study behind it.
Okay.
What do you mean?
Sorry, you answered my question. I was gonna say because he read that animal anything.
No,
you said anecdotal.
He had three oncologists tell him that to try this. They said try this and let's see what your results are. They didn't say you have to do this or you're gonna die.
Or here's the literature on it.
Yeah, they were just like, try it and see how you feel, and let's see like the level of your autophagy and the level of your healing. And he did it, and like, bro, he's killing the game right now. And I don't think that is a religion. I think that's a personal choice.
Maybe in his case, veganism is not a religion.
It's just anecdotal, you know? That's what I said. It's anecdotal.
The results are anecdotal, but maybe in his case, his veganism is not a religion.
It's just a lifestyle.
It's just a lifestyle. But
that's what I tend to think.
But most people, there's a huge difference. Why?
I want to see those sources on veganism. How do you classify? Give me an author that says veganism is a religion.
Vegetarianism and veganism.
It's different. It's different because vegetarian.
What is the difference?
Because vegetarians are allowed to eat eggs, vegans can't, and also vegetarians are allowed to eat products from eggs, which means pasta and things like that. If there's pasta that has actual animal protein and fat.
Why would someone have a problem with eating eggs if it's not harming an animal?
Because there's an argument to be made that you are harming an animal, just like somebody that's pro-life.
How?
Well, what's the difference between a human embryo and a full-grown baby?
No. I'm asking you a specific question.
I'm giving you
that you're answering me with a question. How are you harming a chicken? Let's say a chicken that's raised out in the country by eating its egg. How are you harming that chicken?
Blanca, maybe I can answer this question.
What's the difference between an embryo and a full-grown chicken? Because that's what an egg is, right? What is it? Can you look this up for me, Calvin?
No.
Look this up.
An egg is the eggs you eat will never be. They're not fertilized.
They're not fertilized.
They'll never become a chicken. Okay,
but they have the potentiality. Like before they're unfertilized, they're similar. They just become eggs.
But chickens lay eggs regardless of if they are fertilized or whatever.
So that's the difference between vegetarianism and veganism.
Chickens are laying eggs all day, every day, regardless. Like those eggs are not fertilized. They'll never be anything but eggs.
That's the difference.
How is that harming the chicken?
I don't think it is.
Okay, exactly.
I'm not vegan.
But why would a person become a vegan and not eat eggs? There's a difference between saying eggs make me sick. I don't like eggs. I don't think we should be eating something that's coming from the chicken's butt or wherever eggs come from. But why are vegans
to decrease the level of protein intake? There is a science behind that.
What do you mean to decrease the level of protein intake?
And to be more specific, to decrease the level of animal protein intake.
But
no, the reason
why?
Unfortunately,
just because there's a lifestyle behind it.
Vegans don't eat. Like, why don't vegans eat animal products? Is it because they're harming the animal?
I didn't say that.
I'm
going more science based.
Tell me, say it again.
Look, guys,
I don't understand what you just said.
Because there's a difference between animal protein intake versus no animal protein
But
intake.
what I'm saying is, how are they harming the animal?
I didn't say that.
But
That's
that's
not.
what vegans believe. They don't want
That's
to
what
harm
some
the
vegans
animal.
believe. But the guy that I'm telling you about that's trying to seek
Forget
cancer
that guy
treatment,
because he's
he
doing
doesn't
it for
care
cancer.
about that.
Most vegans are not
He's
doing
trying
it.
to
Most
adhere
vegans
to
are
it.
doing it to not doing it to stop cancer. Most vegans are doing it because they think they're harming they don't want to harm an animal.
Okay,
How does
that's fine.
eating
I
a
don't disagree with
chicken's
that.
egg that's gonna sit there and go to waste harming
I'm
the
going
chicken?
black and white. Like, how do you
Black
define?
and white is what most vegans are doing. Why are you a vegan? Because I don't want to hurt the animal. How are you hurting a chicken's eggs
don't think
that's
you
being
are.
laid?
Because
think
I
agree with you.
Yeah,
may
go
I
ahead.
interject here,
Yes,
please?
yes, sorry.
So the reason why they think that is because you have to understand their philosophy, which is Hegel. What did Hegel believe? Phenomenology, which is that everything is based on something else. So all they believe is that when you consume the chicken's eggs, even though they're unfertilized, you're contributing to their factory farming, right?
But if it's a chicken that is if it's your chicken out in your farm, in your field, it's
Correct,
no
but
factory involved.
But no one gets their eggs from that. I've eaten 1,000 eggs this year. None of them were from a chicken I raised. I paid someone else.
Okay, I pay a lot
chickens.
more for my eggs, so they're not mistreated.
That's
they
nice.
are okay. I do, and like I don't do it for me. I don't do it for me, so I'm not trying. Like, don't give me props. I do it for chickens because I saw that Food Inc. movie, and I wish I hadn't seen it because I'd be saving a lot on eggs. But I saw it, and it made me feel bad. So now I pay a lot for eggs.
Saw that.
But those eggs that I'm eating are not being harmed. They're not being harmed.
Not directly, but that's the way that the vegans, the way they think of them, the way they are procured is through harm from a secondary being, which is the mother, which is the chicken. And that's how they think. So that's why I said it's phenomenology, which is causality of phenomenon. So because you've induced harm upon the egg, you induced harm upon the bearer of the egg. The bearer of the egg came from something else. And how was the bearer of the egg cultivated? Through barbaric means, and so now we can't eat chicken
If
eggs.
I told a vegan, hey, I got you a source of eggs from a chicken farm, and these chickens are treated like kings, or what are chickens, male or female? Queens,
oh, the hens,
kings,
queens,
whatever
queens, yeah,
queens and kings, right? You
Doesn't
can
matter.
eat these eggs.
Roosters and hens.
They're not gonna eat the eggs. Why do they not eat the eggs?
But does that constitute
because it contributes.
It's Fred.
Blanca.
Fred, forget the religion part.
Okay, good.
Okay,
exactly.
Forget the
you
religion.
answered my
Forget
question.
the religion part
You
right now.
answered my question.
Why
Forget
are
the
their
religion
minds,
part.
What is the reason? I just want to know
it's just
the reason.
irrationality. It's not a religion. It's just
Irrationality.
irrationality.
Their minds are taken
Well,
over by weirdness.
Yeah, that's
right.
That's the argument. Then
Guys,
I agree with that. That's the cult.
Okay,
it has nothing to do with their religion.
It's cultish.
It's I would even go further. I think it's a cult.
It's
everything
a cult.
Everything is cultish.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
It's
that is
a cult.
It's not
Yes.
a religion.
We will get into that, and that's
It's
what
not a religion.
faith-based beliefs. All
not
this
a
stuff is all
religion.
cultish, and believing that these poor chickens have souls. That's kind of cultish. All this kind of stuff is.
Even
Oh,
if they
okay.
have
I don't
souls,
know.
how is it?
So-
I don't think they have
harming-
souls.
Even if they believe they have souls, how is it harming the chicken that's being raised in
Look. All right.
Because I think some forms of veganism has to do with nutrition, which is a different school of thought.
That's
okay.
Well, look,
I think it has to do with nutrition. Just like you follow a carnivore diet, I follow a OMAD diet for the most part. He follows a different diet because he's trying to bulk. And I think it has to do, just because we eat different, are each of our eating habits a religion? Or is it just a
No.
lifestyle that we, like how we consume our calories? And even though we may be strict about it, and even though we may be very purposeful about it, it doesn't, and to an extent, some people might classify it as obsessive, but it's not a religion. It's just like I don't want to consume my calories for the day. I'm not I'm not
Mhm.
praying to the 1 meal a day God, like, hey, please make sure I only eat 1 meal a day, and if I do, forgive me for my sins.
Yeah.
Like,
I
I'm not
wasn't
doing
saying
that.
that with vegans.
That's
but yeah,
wild.
I know
That's
what you're
crazy
saying.
work, bro.
All right, guys. Well, I think that's a great ending point on that topic, and let's go on to
That's
the
I
crazy
still
work.
think it's a religion.
let's go
I'm gonna
into
start praying to
potentially
my 1
let's
meal
go
a
into the
day
next
God.
topic. So yeah,
It's crazy work.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.